Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Wow, what a weekend, what a weekend, what a weekend. You got the old school Seahawks.
Yeah, man, got the old school Seahawks.
That's my favorite all-time logo.
We did just go all Guardians on the
For
seat
sure,
to
man.
like.
Wow.
They deserve the love.
We didn't even
deserve it.
No
plan
plan.
that.
No plan.
Well, I think everybody felt good after the 2-1 over Philly.
I'll take that.
Except for Steve.
I'll take that. I was sending my family all kind of middle finger texts. You know, I got family that's from Newark.
Oh, you have Phillies fans?
They from Newark, New Jersey.
Okay.
So they like 30 minutes across the river. They cheer for Philadelphia everything. So
By the way,
in your face.
Sorry about their luck.
Earl, I will say this: when I was watching them games, like their fans and like their announcers, man, they be like,
Oh, that felt like playoff atmosphere.
they was mad. Bryce Harper was throwing bats. They must have really felt like they was coming in and win that series.
Steve
Well,
always,
they have
Steve
to
is
feel bad
already
about
telling us to move on. See, they say Cleveland fans are sensitive.
We have moved on.
Yeah,
We
from
got that.
Philly.
Philly's out of the way.
On to
Hey,
Detroit.
you know why that's important is because just in the random chance, and right now I think they're the best two records in baseball, so it wouldn't be so random that they meet again in the World Series. You'd rather have won two than lost two.
Yeah. And I would rather not.
Especially with that pitching staff they went in there with.
Hey, I would rather not pitch to Kyle Schwarber anymore, but that's
My goodness. He did damage. 3 homers over the weekend. Knocked in all their runs yesterday. That is a potent lineup.
It's crazy.
And for you to hold that lineup to 3 runs and all of them came from 2 swings from one guy,
He does that leading off.
he's insane.
He does this leading off. Like that's
Insane. Yeah, that was stealing, though. I mean, the kid's major league debut.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, as they say. 3 pitches into your big league career.
Get you some of that.
Yeah. Other than that, how did you enjoy that? But you know what? He really pitched well, aside from Schwarber. You know, I know he didn't go deep into the game, but all in all, you'll take it.
Big Christmas had a good game yesterday.
Yeah.
Man, oh man. Wow.
He swings.
He looks like Big Papi to me.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just so big
and
so strong.
It looks like he's wearing like a medium tank shirt, and this man is swinging his tail off at the plate. Like he's not going up there looking to put contact on the ball.
He gets his money's worth.
Yeah, he's gonna get his money's worth. With
He was trying to hit that ball to Newark, I think.
He
was.
probably did.
And it made it about halfway there.
I hope my people's caught it.
and by the way, the sloppiness of the errors. What was that? That was a little high school in that.
Really, the whole series.
Yeah, the whole series.
And even Hosey making some uncharacteristic mistakes. He made a great play in the win Friday night. But overall, man, when you can go on the road, when you're gripping, I mean, there's no question, they still are in the throes of a slump.
Yeah.
And you can go in there with that pitching staff and take 2 of 3 from the best team in baseball.
Yeah.
That can be the kind of thing that can turn the Titanic around, you know?
Yeah.
That they can, not that they're the Titanic, but you know, I think they're 12-16 in their last 28 games.
I said Friday.
That's not good.
I said Friday. You know, even though they've been struggling lately, the thing for them that works is if you look at the top 2 teams in the AL in each division.
Yeah.
Everybody's like 3-7, 4-6 in their last 10.
You're right.
So you better just be thankful that you hitting your slump while everybody else is.
You aren't kidding. Because Minnesota could have passed us by now if they continue their streak.
Yeah, so.
But they've also hit a wall. A lot to talk about with the Guardians. A lot to talk about with the Browns as well. Man, I just got off the phone. I had about a 20-minute conversation with Sean Dunnigan, our photographer who's down there.
Who sent us a ton of video.
Yes.
And Sean is the MVP. We love Sean. We
Sean
can't
does
say
it
thank
all.
you enough to Sean.
Sean does it all.
Enough. He's the best. If you don't follow him on Twitter, make sure you follow Sean Dunnigan on Twitter.
Does it all.
Yeah.
I got a complete report. Do you have cut and ready to go the Vrabel Jameis video?
It's in the montage, video montage.
So it's buried
that he
in
sent.
something else.
Well, no, he sent us Vrabel specific. He gave us like player specific and coach specific videos. I'm just not sure it's the first clip.
I loved the story that he told about Vrabel and Winston and what they've got going on at camp. They've got a little competition going on at camp. Something to make it fun, something to make it different. The media's loving it. The players are loving it. We'll talk about that coming up. Deshaun threw a little 11 on 11 earlier. They were supposed to do it today. It got cut short. Got a report on all of that. We'll get into all of that. First of all, Mike, how are you? How was the weekend? Everything good?
I'm doing well. It was a good weekend. Before we jump into topics, I got to tell you guys something. I got to ask Jay specifically a question. Then we'll do a read and jump into our first topics. But as you know, every Monday we send out the UCSS newsletter. It is a compilation of what you missed from the week before, what's coming up this week. Stephen Boston is our member of the week. We have a top 5 of the 5 most wagered on teams to win the college football playoff. And Earl wrote an article on Deshaun Watson. So if you want to get that newsletter in your inbox every Monday, text the number, at the bottom of your screen. And Jay, you weren't here last week, but Kevin Stefanski announced he was holding on to his play calling duties, which you had said time and time again. The worst kept secret in football is that Ken Dorsey would be taking over. So I want to give you the floor.
It was such a greatly held secret that it ended up not being true.
Right.
I was in the newsroom. What day did that come out? Thursday or Friday?
Friday.
Okay, I was in the newsroom Friday, and I'm going over some stuff, and one of the guys in the sports department says, Jay, you got to come look at this. He's got the interview with Stefanski, and he goes, I'm going to take it right to the beginning. And when he said, just so matter-of-factly, yeah, I'm gonna keep calling the plays, I thought, wow. What I want to know the backstory. I really do. I want to know if Dorsey was promised that he would have play calling duties. Did Stefanski make management believe that he was going to hand them off and then did the old swervy derv once the contract was signed? I don't know, but there's got to be a great story behind it. But I have to say, I'm glad, and here's why.
Okay.
If it doesn't work at week 6 or 8 or 10, you can pivot.
He said that. He said
You
something
can't
like that.
pivot.
Yeah.
If it goes to Dorsey and you pull the play calling duties,
He's lame duck.
you're done.
He's
I
finished.
said
He's
that Friday.
dead man walking.
I said
Yup.
this situation, like
said
that.
that. I like that.
You can't let Dorsey start off and Dorsey fails and take it away from him.
Can't do it.
Like, it's easier to just give it to him later versus
You're right.
to take it away
Because at
from
that
him
point,
later.
he can say, I gave it serious consideration in the offseason. I still thought I could handle it. It is just so difficult to do both. And we've got a good guy here, and we're seeing eye to eye now, and now it's going to be Ken. That is an easy, smooth transition, but you can't go the other way.
Last thing Kevin want is us mid-season making a bunch of something because he just snatched play calling away from Ken Dorsey.
You're right.
And I also think that what really stands clear for me is you can't afford to have the offense look a certain way. It has to look.
It's got to be crisp.
It got to be crisp.
Were you guys all
today.
in alignment? You guys all think that this was a good move? Or did you want to see Dorsey call plays?
Well, I kept it real. I said I was shocked because based on everything that I talked about at the end of last season, I moved off my emotions at said time, and I thought whoever the new offensive coordinator would be the play caller because we used the word swift and changes.
Sure.
But I think that after hearing Kevin Stefanski speak about it, when you talk about all the, turnover as far as the coaches on the offensive side of the ball, you wanted to keep some type of continuity and unity. And so it made sense for Kevin Stefanski to be the play caller. But it's funny, like, joking around, Kev from Philly, maybe it just went down to, like, he a Philly cat and you use that Philly attitude, like, hey, I'm calling the plays. This is my team, fam.
I got a deal right now. My deal, like, what you gonna do, take the deal back?
He said, what you gonna do, fam?
So you like it then that he's calling them?
Yeah.
And you?
Listen, I thought Dorsey was going to call the plays. I had a whole 4-month run with that. I thought Dorsey.
We all did. We all got fooled.
He said he had 6 months worth of content just waiting to use.
And I said I had to throw all that away. That's done. All right, we got to clean the whole vault up. The vault's finished. Kevin's calling the plays. Here's the thing I will say, why I don't have a problem with it. Because he said when he was talking in his introductory press conference, he said, like, hey, look, we have a lot of things in common that we like to do, but we also have a lot of things that we don't have in common.
Right.
And Ken gives me a lot of pushback on our philosophy.
And that's good. That's what you
and
want.
I love that because he said, sometimes I come in and we talk about, how we want to do and what we want to do. And the fact that he does have that conflict and pushback pushes you forward a little bit, especially when it comes to like the philosophy of the way you can get the most out of the offense. So I was like, listen, it sounds like they got a good, healthy relationship. Good. They like each other. So, hey, let's rock and roll.
For now, I like it. I was shocked by it, but I like it. And the reason that he's been the coach of the year 2 times in 4 years.
That was kind of confusing to a lot of people. Like, how could you How could you do that? Like, they already made you get rid of AVP, right?
Right.
And then they brought a new guy in, right? So, but one thing that Stefanski has shown, he is a collaborator. More than anything, you can say what you want.
Yeah.
We thought he was going to be upset. Mike Vrabel's on the. See, why would you put Vrabel, a guy that could potentially take your? And Mike Vrabel's out there running sprints.
Did you hear what Mike Vrabel
Just
said?
adding to the table. Add to the team.
Stefanski called him. He said,
Vrabel confirmed that.
yeah,
I
Stefanski
like
called
that.
him.
I like that because I think ultimately I do think that Kevin Stefanski is secure in his position.
Yeah.
And he should be. And I think when a first-time coach is a couple years in, it's rare that the jury is in if he's going to get op number 2. Mm-hmm. This guy's going to get another shot if it goes south here.
Oh, what do you mean?
He's earned that.
He's going to pick one.
So he probably will, depending on how it ends. And hopefully it doesn't end.
Right.
Hopefully he's here for 25 years. But he's past that hump of, he's definitely going to get a second chance. He's got 2 plaques in 4 years. So I think he's secure enough in who he is, and he generally wants the best staff around him that he can put around him. And I think if you look at the upgrades in the staff this offseason, having Vrabel in as a consultant, that's a win all the way around. This guy's got major NFL coaching experience, and the players love him.
Yeah.
And bringing in Ken Dorsey, it's another voice. To your point of him being the supreme collaborator, that's what you want. You want different voices in the room that are going to perhaps give you a different portrait at the end of the season. And I think he's done a marvelous job assembling his staff. He's shown great security. A lot of coaches would not have called Mike Vrabel.
Oh, no.
But
85%.
all right, Mike, let's dive in.
Let's dive into our first topic of the day after a quick word from FanDuel. You guys know I love sports. I love them so much, and as the summer winds on, we get fewer and fewer games until football season comes back, and the sports just aren't sportsing like I want them to right now, but FanDuel keeps me in the game and lets the sports go whenever I want because all I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball and the ultimate Cleveland sports show. You guys mentioned Deshaun Watson a second ago. He participated for the first time since injuring his shoulder last season in padded and unpadded 7-on-7 throwing drills. He was supposed to do 11-on-11 throwing drills today. Got rained out, so that's going to get postponed till tomorrow.
He has done a few 11-on-11s.
He's thrown a couple, but the full padded
Right.
offense-defense that we were expecting and hoping to see today, they got rained out, so that gets pushed back till tomorrow whenever Kevin Stefanski and the coaching staff decide to roll that back out. But, guys, I wanted to ask you this. When we see all these videos coming out of Deshaun, he threw a miraculous no-look touchdown pass to David Njoku over the weekend, is there anything Deshaun could do in camp, in preseason, prior to the kickoff of Week 1 that could change your perception of him in a good way or a bad way, other than playing in actual, legitimate, regular season games? Does anything that comes out of the next 6 weeks matter in terms of how you perceive Deshaun Watson, the quarterback, heading into the 2024 season?
Well, first of all, let's take the word miraculous out of our vocabulary when talking about.
Trying to hype it up, baby. Come on.
I know you are, but you did a hell of a
Mahomes did
job.
that, they'd retire his jersey tomorrow.
You did a hell of a job, but I'm not going to call anything I see in training camp miraculous. We've fallen down that hole before. I don't know. What about you? All right.
I'll go ahead. I'll kick the party off. Tyler says this all the time. He says, I am not part of the media, right? And people think it's tongue-in-cheek and,
Sorry, Tyvus, you're very much part of it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you are part of the media. But the sentiment he's trying to say is he never forgot what it is to be to be an athlete. And what it is to be an athlete, you understand that you don't look at the game the same way as maybe people who just look at the black and white and is it a win or not? If it's a regular season, did you play good or no? There's different shades of gray. And when you're talking about football, you want to stack days together, right? You want to be able to stack good days, good throws together, especially when you're in the dog days of camp. And when you look at his performance, is he going to be jumping up and down for joy because like he's ready to play in the Super Bowl today? No. But one of the things that you can see is these are the building blocks of actually playing well in game one. So you want to see him be able to control the huddle. You want to see him be, as people talked on Twitter, 11-11, 12-12, or 18-18. It's okay. I would rather see you throw a no-look pass than throw the ball in the ground and look like you don't know what's going on. So for me, if you're inside the camp, if you're inside the Browns organization, yes, these practices matter and count. But if you're outside and you're just a fan and you're just like, hey, I'm into Sundays, the Muni lot, or just looking to break down wins or losses, it may not mean much to you. But in the scheme of things, does that make it important to play well and to have good, stackable, winnable drills and showing that you are progressing? That's huge for him. That's huge for the team, and it's huge for Ken Dorsey, a new offense, to see this thing working out and playing out in real time. So it's kind of a yes answer. I believe it counts, and it counts for the people that are in the building, but you might not see the dividends on the outside.
Well, will it change my perception of Deshaun Watson either way? No, because as you alluded to, it's training camp, and I've been down that rabbit hole of being overhyped because I see players perform overly well during training camp, or being too discouraged on the player because he didn't have the best camp. So I think when you see it either way, it's best to remain even keel because it's training camp. But Kevin Stefanski talks about winning each day, going 1-0 each day. And so to the point that G just made, it's about stacking good days in a row, not just for Deshaun Watson, but for every member of this football team. Like building those consistent good habits that will ultimately lead to success during the regular season and hopefully during the playoffs. But no, I'm not going to get too hyped or make any mass decisions on Deshaun Watson one way or another based on what he does in training camp.
Yeah, I think that's a responsible answer. I think the question is, can he change your perception during camp? And the true answer to that is yes, he can, but it only goes one way, only in a negative way. If he's putting 6 out of 7 balls in the dirt, or he's sailing them over receivers' heads, I'm looking at that going, he's lost his compass. He can't throw the football where he needs to throw it. That would be worst case scenario and a debacle. We have not seen that. He has been on target. He has been on point. And that means he's reaching the bar that we've all set for him. Mm-hmm. Can he go over that? No, because there's no live bullets. There's no pressure. There's nothing. There's no risk of injury. Right. So he's doing what we absolutely need him to do, standing in the pocket and finding guys. Mm-hmm. You better do that. If all 32 better be in camp doing that. If they're not, then you're looking to next man up. So he can change our perception, only for me in a negative way. If he throws a miraculous no-look pass in practice, I'm going to be like, okay, that's cool. That's great. You'd rather, to your point, you would much rather, it means everything to him, by the way.
Yes.
I like your point of stackable wins, like doing things that reminds him that he can be Deshaun Watson Houston, Deshaun Watson Clemson again. So all of that is good for his confidence and his psyche, but for the most part, the hay is in the barn for us as far as our decision on what he is. And what he is, there's a wide range. There's Baltimore second half, and then there's pretty much everything else we saw since he became a Brown. So you got 2 bodies of work. We got to balance them together and make our prognostication for what he'll actually be for 17 games this year. But he's not going to change my mind in a positive way by anything I see him do in camp.
My defensive line coach, Eric Washington, he's been a defensive coordinator in the NFL. He coached me. And he came, and when he first got there, and he talked about one of his big things was, you making deposits in the bank. When you out there, you working, you making deposits, you making deposits. Nobody don't want to make no deposits in the bank, right? But when it comes time you need that money, we all like withdrawals. And so practice and the way you practice and the way you go about it and the repetition, just being back into the mode of, you got to think about it, dude didn't play for a year. it takes discipline to play
Almost
football.
2 years.
2 years. He didn't play for 2 years. Just being on the field, showing the acumen to be able to be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this today, and I'm going to do it tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and over again. That's what it is to be a quarterback. And if he did not play, like say for instance, if this was another quarterback and he was doing what he was doing, what Deshaun is doing right here, quarterbacks are not stories in training camp.
No.
If you think about it, no starting quarterback is Kirk Cousins or Josh Allen or
Russell Wilson getting hurt's the only one.
That's it.
Yeah.
There is no. Those guys do not make headways. You know why? Because it's consistent and it's the same. And the only thing that really moves their needle into who they are up or down is what they do in the regular season. Training camp is for guys trying to make the team.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. It's getting in shape, guys making the team. You make your name on Sundays, right? So hopefully we can get to a point where next year Deshaun Watson is not a story. We can talk about Jamari.
I do think that he comes in here with every expectation himself of turning it around and playing great.
Yeah.
I think he's got the goodwill equity of 85 to 90% of our fan base because of the second half in Baltimore. Guys, that is so critical. I thought about this a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about when I was just going through the process of his offseason. Mm-hmm. Could you imagine if he got hurt in the first half of that Baltimore game, which was one of the worst he's ever played as a Brown? Go look at the numbers. One of the worst halves of football he has played.
It was a pick the first play of the game.
First play of the game. I thought the game was over.
Pick six.
And I literally, if you juxtapose where he was in the first half of that game to where he finished that game, do you know how important that was? Because if he doesn't have that second half and he comes out at halftime with an injury, he's got nothing to build on.
Zero.
He's got, and neither do the fans that are strongly entrenched in his camp. Thankfully, we saw that second half. That happened, and that very much mattered. And that allowed him to get through the last 8 to 9 months with a level of excitement that I can still do this. Imagine the question swirling in his head if he had come out with injury at halftime after the worst half of his Cleveland Browns career.
And you know what? You said something right there. It makes a huge difference. Like, I don't think people understand how much it matters when you have a fan base behind you. When Joe Flacco got here and was a Baltimore Raven his whole life, I remember when he played and how him and Roethlisberger and even Andy Dalton used to just beat the brakes out of us, right? And you got a guy for the Baltimore Ravens who I just kept seeing flashbacks. But the crazy thing about it was when he got here and the city rallied around him, do you know how many times we will watch those games? And those guys mentioned it in the Jets game Thursday night. I got goosebumps when I was watching that.
Yeah.
Like the way the city got behind him and the way he seemed to play. Fans can lift a player to a level that they didn't even really think they can get. And sometimes people don't honestly understand what it is that when you got a movement behind you, kind of like how Bernie had that movement. Flacco, we've seen it places here or there, but we haven't really seen it. And I can't help but think that Deshaun Watson saw that. He saw that. And he said, man, I would love that. But he understood the only way to get there was to put the work in.
To earn it.
To earn it. And he said, you know what? If I earn it, and I put that work in and I earn it,
he'll have it.
They'll come around. They'll come around.
This fan base will do it. They did it with Bernie. They did it for Baker for a short time.
Oh,
they did it for Joe Flacco. Here's an analogy for you. It's like he's a sailboat, and the fan base is the wind. And that wind can blow that boat to the destination like no other.
Yeah.
But it can also blow you so far off course you can't get back.
We've seen it with Baker.
And that really is, the fan base is the wind in the quarterback's sails.
Yeah.
Now, it's not as if the quarterback doesn't control it, because he's got his hands on the levers. Mm-hmm. If he's moving things in the right way and opening the sail the right way, the fans are going to fill it up and move him towards where he wants to go. But if he's throwing picks and losing games and they're close and not good in the fourth quarter, his hands on the lever turning it the wrong way, and it's going to blow him off course. But there's no question this fan base will fill his sail with the wind behind him and carry him to where we all want to go.
And man, it's kind of funny. We always talk about it. It's funny how a change on something can turn something around in 5 or 10 minutes. People was looking around, not enthusiastic about voting for nobody. But guess what? Somebody's like, I'm in the race. Vote for me. All of a sudden, things change. Fan bases are fickle. They move like the wind. I call myself the Duke of Knee Jerk, right? But a lot of people feel that way. Go talk to him on game day. I think Deshaun Watson, to me, I like his demeanor. I like it. People may say his demeanor is he's been a little ornery, or he's a little terse, he's a little like he's on edge.
Did Jay write a column? Did Jason write a column?
It came out this morning.
Is now the appropriate time to talk about that?
I wanted to give everyone time to read it and digest it before
I haven't
dove into it. So
who has? Who
I haven't read the article, but I did see a couple of lines.
What's your takeaway? First of all, characterize it for those that haven't read it. What is it? What's your take on it? Because
Jason basically wrote an article that he felt like Deshaun Watson was playing victim when he went up there and talked about people not liking him and him not giving two F's about what other people's opinion is. Me and Jason text this morning. I kind of keep that for off the record, but I see both sides of it. One, when you say you don't care about what people think, I think that's a clear indicator that you care about what somebody thinks.
It usually is, yeah.
For me, I'm an emotional being, right? And one of the things therapy teach you is emotional intelligence and stability, right? And you can always tell when you're out of balance and, you know what I mean, when your body language is off and things like that. But I think sometimes, we want to box Deshaun Watson into a corner. We want to take what he says and use it for ammunition. And sometimes he doesn't do a good job of not providing, media members with
I think both of those things you said are true.
Ammunition, right?
I think
because
there are
on
those
one
that
hand,
put him
when
in a
you
box.
ask Deshaun Watson a question and he gives you a transparent, vulnerable, honest answer, and then you kind of take that and use it against him,
right.
It's like I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. I'll say this. One, he does care what other people think about him.
Well, he clearly does. He's out there,
just hear me out.
Searching his name.
There's not a person that walks this earth that don't care about what other people say about him. I think naturally we all want to be liked. But I think in the same breath, when you're a member of the media and you talk about Deshaun Watson and criticize Deshaun Watson outside of the realm of football, and the words that you choose to use holds weight, right? You can talk about whatever situation you want, but when you use the words like creep, clown, and things like that,
that's personal.
It's personal, and it triggers people. And some of those same media members, you know where they be at when he is at the grand opening of Lefties, when they're at training camp? Those be the same media members smiling in his face, acting like they didn't say what they said. And we all know that he sees and he hears everything.
Sure.
So maybe he has the makeup of a person of you fake. Keep the same energy. So it's like somebody told me his body language was off. Me, Mike, and Ant watched the interview this morning. To me, he didn't come off as bad as people said he came off during that interview.
Right.
But I'm not going to sit up here and act like I don't understand the fact, if you the type of person that can talk shit about me behind my back or on your platform where you're comfortable and you don't have that same energy when you're around me, stay the hell away from me.
Sure.
And if you got to do your job, maybe I can do better at doing my job. If I was Deshaun Watson and I was dealing with a media member that I really didn't like, I understand he got a job to do, but so do I. I will one word answer you every single time you answer me something. I'm fulfilling my media obligation. We ain't got to be buddies, but keep the same energy. And I think that's what he's talking about.
That's fair. That's very fair. And I can't characterize it. I didn't read the article, saw very little of his entire news conference. I saw the controversial parts. G, what's your take?
Look, so for me, I look at this situation and I say, when you look at Deshaun Watson, I kind of compare it to, I said this on Ultimate Browns. I said, it's almost like being a kid coming from another area, right? Say, for instance, you're a military kid or your mom and dad, they get jobs and they bounce around a lot. And you get to a new high school, and you're there and you want people to like you. You're the new kid, right? So you go around, you get to the lunch table, you go to sit down, And it's like, nobody's rocking with you. Nobody's sitting at the lunch table. You go to other lunch tables the next day and try to, indoctrinate you, but you're different, right? You're outsider. So, go to another table, still people don't want to mess with you, right? And after about doing that song and dance for about 6 months, you start to realize, like, hey, look, I'm tired of going home being miserable. I'm tired of like looking at people laughing and joking at me. I'm tired of doing that. And what happens is you start to say, you know what? At the end of the day, I can't live my life based upon what somebody's thought process is or why I look a certain way or the way I'm answering it, right? To be truthful, those guys, individuals, start to embrace sitting at the table by themselves. And they start to realize, well, look, Patrick Mahomes sit at the table by himself. Josh Allen sit at the table by himself. Because maybe, you know what, maybe you don't understand what it is, and maybe you don't see eye to eye with that. But I got to be okay with that. I got to be able to function in a way and the opportunity to do that. And so when you look at Deshaun Watson and his energy level at the press conference, the energy level is something that, as we was getting to before I said that, I love the energy level. You know why? It means he's focused and locked in. And it goes to the point of when you are playing a team sport and you are in those locker rooms, they tell you the only people that matter are the people inside these walls. The same people that wake up at 6 a.m., the same people that bust their ass, the same people that's away from their family, the same people that have the same money issues, and people with, they tell you when camp start, lock in. We don't care. That's why they took him to West Virginia, right?
Sure, galvanized.
That's why they're there. So when he got that mentality, like, hey, listen, I'm not worried about the outside stuff. I can give two you-know-whats about guys, what you think about me. Okay, it's already baked into the cake. And like I always talk about it like this. I say this all the time. You're going to have to make a personal decision on whether or not you like Deshaun Watson or you feel like he's going to be a good player for the Cleveland Browns. But what you also have to understand is Kevin Stefanski, he got a contract, right? He's going to be here. Andrew Berry, he got a contract. He's going to be here. Jimmy and D Haslam, they own the team. They ain't selling it, and they believe in Deshaun Watson. So we can say, oh, well, he got to go, or he ain't going to be it. But you got to realize something. The Browns, Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry, they believe in him. They're going to give him every opportunity to win football games. And so when we talk about Deshaun Watson, at some point in time, you got to let the other outside stuff go. And you got to let that be where it's at. Because, we have something in our country right now, and people say, don't say politics, but there's people in our country right now that got two choices of who do you going to pick for president. Some people got it baked in, some people don't have it baked in. But them people have a choice to pick who they want to pick for whatever reasons. So at the end of the day, it comes down to what are you going to do on the field and judging what he does on that field. But at some point in time, you have to say, my job is not to talk about what happened off the field. My job is to narrow down and get on what he's talking about on the field. Because at the end of the day, that's where you have open carte blanche to say, did you win? Did you not? Did you play well? What is it? And at this point, I think a lot of people want to get to a point where it's just football.
I think you touched on this earlier, and we've talked about this with Deshaun before. I wish he'd say less. I do. He can pick and choose the questions he decides to answer. When the media dangles the bait, you don't have to snap. You don't have to take it. When you take it, you play into their hand, and you give them words to write that will come back to hurt you. I like Deshaun's energy in that I do like a chip on your shoulder. Mm-hmm. I like that. I've always said that about Baker. The thing I think I liked most about Baker was he does his best work when the chips are down and people have counted him out.
That's all three of us.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It is. Well, in reality, it's the people in life that get ahead are people that are out to prove other people wrong. Whether it was elementary school teacher, a high school baseball coach, whatever it is, you remember things. And it's okay for him to do that. I like that he does that, in fact. I wish he internalized it. And you can't send mixed messages. You can't say, oh, I see everything. That means you're out there searching Deshaun Watson in Twitter. That means you're typing that name in, and you're hitting search, and you're reading these comments.
But let me ask you this.
But if you can't do that and then say, I don't care what people say about me. You care so much, you search it out.
But do you think that's a byproduct of where we are as a society today?
Possibly, yes, and that's something that with this generation I'm not in touch with. What I've gone through a social media cycle. I mean, I was pulled into it begrudgingly because my employer wanted me to do it, and I didn't want to do it. I kept saying it's an exercise in narcissism. No one gives a rat's ass if I'm standing in line to buy concert tickets, except me. And if I suddenly think that people care about that, now I'm the problem. And so the cycle that I went through was I realized that it did have some value in driving ratings for the show that I worked on. I never wanted it to build a personal brand. I wanted it to build our show brand. Now, fortunately, my coworker and Skip Bayless really enjoyed playing with it, and he loved Twitter, and he was able to build a huge following for our show through it. But as I've cycled through it, I don't even know when I joined it. Maybe 2012, 10? I don't know. Probably before that. I mean, I was like early on, I was on it. And
You joined in March of 2009.
okay, and then I got maybe in like by 14, probably 5 years, I realized this is toxic. Because you see what people say about other people. I loved what you said earlier. If you're going to have that energy, you keep that energy. Don't do it behind an anonymous icon and start blasting keyboard muscle. And, you know, that's where our society, I think, devolved with it. So for me now with it, I'm like, oh my God, it's a cesspool. I can't find anything negative about it or positive about it. So I just don't use it anymore. I hope he gets to that point.
I can give you a current day situation. I think, Mike, you could check this. The last time I actually tweeted out on my actual account was like July 10th or 11th. I kind of made a decision, like, I'm trying to step away from social media for a minute.
Mentally?
Well, the reason for it is because, again, I'm trying to become more self-aware of who I am as I get older as a man.
And don't let other people tell you who you are.
Going through a lot of things personally, and I understand that sometimes when you're going through stuff, you can be easily triggered, right? And sometimes you can give off energy that's probably unbecoming of who you are or who you're trying to become. And you don't even know you're doing it. And you don't even know you're doing it. And I know who I am. I'm an emotional being. And when my emotions are not stabilized and I see somebody talking shit, I know me. And so to avoid putting myself in an even deeper, like, dark space or negative mindset, it's just best to, like, you know what? Let me try to see if I could take a break.
Very
from
smart
all
of
that.
you.
But I'll say this, like, this is my first, like, career job, right? I've never worked for media in any other town or any other city. I have nothing to compare anything to. I come out here every day. I try to do my best effort. I try to be authentic. I try to take real life situations, things that I've witnessed or have done myself, and compare those real life parallels to whatever sports takes. I very rarely use stats or anything like that. I understand that this is a privilege to be on this platform. I understand not everybody gets these opportunities. And I also understand that I have to be responsible with this platform. Just because I get this opportunity doesn't give me the right to say whatever the hell I want to say, how I want to say it. Like, I still have to dig down and use those same real life morals that my grandparents taught me, that my parents taught me. And so, like, I can be critical. I have a job to be critical at times, but I'm always try to be very careful of what I say and how I say it. Because you got to see people.
Yeah,
right?
that's wise.
You got to see people.
I know, McNuggets, I got one thing to add, but go ahead. If you got to read.
Add your one thing, then I'll do a read. We'll talk a little Nick Chubb.
Okay,
Nick
cool.
Chubb is going to lead us into the next part.
So one of the things that I also have to put in here too is I think that you know, athletes do have a responsibility to understanding what platform they have and understanding in a way to talk about certain things so you don't give people fuel. I also will say we came up in a generation in sports media, and the game is different. Sports media has to examine their role in the heightened temperature when it comes to you know, athletes versus the media. You know, people that when I came up and I wanted to get in this industry, the forefathers or the pioneers of where we came from is hot take centric. Jim Rome was the biggest thing moving. Skip Bayless was the biggest thing moving. Stephen A. Smith, Jason Whitlock. These are the big names of the people out there that they gonna tell you how you feel.
The OGs.
Sometimes they found out that if I said this, people will do that. And you started to see the explosion of the amount of money that people in this industry made. And there's a lot of younger guys who saw that. You have to see that. Right now, if you want to write a regular article and you want to talk about the Browns' third receiver, go ahead. That ain't going to get it done. They made it okay for you to say, you know what, I don't really necessarily like this, that, and this. And the game got different because the media started to blur between opinion and journalism. What is off bat and what is something you can say. And a lot of people, they tap dance between the two worlds. They're journalists and they write, but also they do opinions. And so sometimes when you're an athlete, you say, well, you can't have it both ways. I'm forced to be professional all the time. And if I get out of pocket outside of this, you're going to say the quarterback so-and-so said that. It's not going to be a differentiation factor. But when you talk about it, Stephen A., he was a writer. Skip Bayless was a journalist in Dallas, one of the biggest. So we have to think about it and say, okay, what role do we play in it in terms of the way we characterize and the way we paint the story and the narrative? Because it's no longer just journalism. It's actually, this is an opinion-based thing that's kind of mixed with different nuances, and it's a brand new industry.
No, the click world will tell you journalism died around 10 years ago. And it's still, there's still a heartbeat, but the patient is on life support. And you're exactly right. It became a hot take industry around 2010, 2012. And all the younger people that wanted to get into this space, they're not dumb. They can look and see what moves the needle, and they say, okay, well, I don't want to write about the Browns' third receiver. I'm going to write about how Deshaun Watson's a terrible person. What it does,
not saying that Jason is doing that. Not saying I'm not.
No.
I'm not saying that.
I haven't read the article, so I don't even know what he said about Deshaun Watson. But what I will say is that sells, and unfortunately, it's a dollar-driven business, and when your editor looks at the clicks and sees what's moving the needle and bringing in dollars, they're putting soft pressure in some cases, hard pressure in other. Give me something with an axe to it. I want edge.
I know we got to move on. I'll just say this. I got a lot of respect for Jason. I know Jason as a person.
He is
right?
seriously
and so,
one of the best we have in this town.
When I read the article, I texted him right away. The one thing about articles like these, when somebody you know personally write them, it brings about healthy conversation and dialogue. So I can't wait to really holler at him a little bit more after the show is over with.
Well, and I'm sure because he sees everything, Deshaun has read it, and he'll do the mental gymnastics with it, what it means. The hope is you're very self-introspective. You're constantly doing this. You're constantly taking your temperature and measuring yourself because we've had these conversations. You want to wake up better tomorrow than you did today.
Yeah.
That is a positive, that is an admirable trait. To do that, you have to soften your skin and let some of the harsh words absorb and read them and be honest and say, is there something to this? The hard-skinned athlete, and Baker has a lot of this to him. I said the worst thing about Baker was he has thin skin and rabbit ears. You can't do that and be a quarterback. You can't. I was talking to Peyton Manning a couple weeks ago. He said, if I'd have stopped throwing passes after my rookie setting season the wrong way for most interceptions, I never would be where I am today. So you listen to the criticism and absorb it, soften your skin, let some of it in and digest it, and see if there's anything to that criticism. And see if you can use those words to a positive end. I do think that Deshaun's got a lot going on in his mind, and my sincere hope, and not just for football reasons, that this is silly. The football reasons are really kind of stupid. For him, as a person, you want him to be a healthy and productive person. And clearly there's some negative energy there that I hope he can exercise and he can turn the page. And the way you do that is you win. And so whatever you say in words in a news conference, it's not going to get you there. Go out, play your ass off, win games, and probably say less. And also search less criticism. You don't need to see that nonsense. It's garbage. All right, Mike.
We're going to pivot to Nick Chubb, who obviously says nothing ever. And I love Nick Chubb for that.
I love his style.
After a word from Game Time, if you guys want to check out the Guardians when they come back from their little road trip. There's no better place to buy your Major League Baseball tickets than with the Game Time app. I've used it multiple times this year. It is so easy every single time. Even the most untech savvy people in the world can figure it out. And Game Time's an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Plus, prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. So take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time account, create an account. Download the app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. So after practice on Friday, guys, or Saturday, Nick Chubb was off on the side doing some drills by himself, and according to all reports, he looked tremendous. The media was not allowed to film said drills. Sean, Mary Kay, Daniel from ESPN, who was with us, Zach Jackson, all tweeted out something right along the same lines as this. Just watch Browns' Nick Chubb running full sprints after practice and cutting with tremendous agility. It was remarkable. We weren't allowed to film it. Jimmy Haslam watched the whole thing and looked very pleased. They all, and by they I mean all the reporters out in the Greenbrier, echoed the same sentiments about Nick Chubb. Guys, we've talked all offseason. Will he be ready for week one? Will he not be ready for week one? He's an alien. I think Earl has called him the second coming, or as close to Adrian Peterson as you can get. When you see and hear reports from people who are there in person watching Chubb work out like this, are you changing your percentage of how likely Nick Chubb is to play in week one? Are you bumping it up, knowing that Mary Kay and Sean and Daniel and Tony and Daryl and all those guys out there all said the same thing? He looked incredible in these drills. G?
Go ahead, G. Well, for me, I was at a 98% chance that Nick Chubb is going to be ready. Now I'm 100% chance. Like, Nick is going to be ready to go. They saying my man out here moving like he ain't lost a step. He wears number 24, so you know what that means. That's straight up Mamba mentality. He's the second coming to Adrian Peterson. Listen, we got to understand we are in 2024. Medicine, technology, surgery, rehab, all of that stuff is so far advanced than what we were 10 years ago, right? Plus, we don't even know how, every human, heals. It seems like he's superhuman, right? It seems like he really is the Dark Knight. That's Batman. I expect Nick Chubb to be out there week one ready to roll. Remember, he's playing on a restructured contract that has a lot of incentives built into it. I'm a person that believes you don't sign that contract if you Nick Chubb, if you don't believe that you're physically capable, mentally capable of going out there and doing what's necessary to reach those incentives this year. Hell yeah. I got Nick Chubb penciled in, starting running back against the Dallas Cowboys September 8th at 4:25 at Cleveland Brown Stadium.
This is a dangerous sport. This is dangerous. This is a dangerous. Now look,
no one here gets out alive.
This is so. I'm gonna give you this. This is. I know people be excited. I'm just gonna give y'all. Yeah, I know y'all excited. I know to some of y'all that's your favorite player. That's that's to me one of my most favorite players that I've ever watched. Right, and I want him to be out there. And if he's out there week one, I'm gonna be super happy. But I'm not gonna be disrespectful in the way I say this. I don't think Tony Grossi has played running back. I don't think he's getting tosses. I don't know if Mary Kay has gotten the toss sweep before with people chasing her running that inside zone play. Shout out to Mary Kay. She might be a good running back, though. I think she's more of a receiver. But the crazy part about it is all of that is cool. All of that is cool at the end of the day. But you got to be out there cutting and moving. You got to actually be out there catching the ball and in five to hundredths of a second deciding whether I want to cut back, the way I want to hop step in the hole, the way I want to spin move, and now you got to worry about guys around your legs. See, remember, Nick Chubb did not get injured by just making a cut. No. He got injured by getting hit. He got injured by people. It's junk. We call it trash. There's all kind of stuff that's on the ground when you're running. Running straight looks great. It's beautiful. Any world-class athlete like that can run straight. Any world-class athlete is going to come out and be like, listen, I could cut too. Let me see you. Look, I'm cutting right now. But there's a difference between putting them pads on and be 100% locked in, no swelling in the knee, Jay, no setbacks, back-to-back practices. Do you need it to get it drained? Do you need it? Are you gonna wear a brace on it? It's a whole nother life past just running straight and getting cuts. Would I be surprised if he did? Sure, but I don't want people to get their hopes up to a point where it's like, oh, this is slam dunk, bro. Nick Chubb, game 1. There is a lot of other different things that go into you coming back to play football. And one of them is actually putting them pads on and taking hits.
Yeah, I have the same opinion on this as I did of Deshaun Watson. And I know this wasn't the question around this, but I'll use it. Can we see anything from Nick Chubb that could change our opinion or expectations of him this year? The answer is yes, but it's only in a negative way. You know this from going through ACL rehab. I know this 3 times. There are clearance dates that you burn into your mind. Mm-hmm. You know what they are. Your physical therapist gives them to you.
Yes.
At 5 months, you want to be light jogging on a treadmill. At 6.5 months, you want to be linear sprinting. At 9 months, you want to have the ability to put your foot in the dirt and cut and change direction.
You know what? He right on. It's about 9 months.
And because I went through it 3 times, and the severity of my injury was different each time. The first time it was ACL, MCL, PCL. That was way more brutal. Mm-hmm. But it was also my first.
Yeah, the first is your baby.
It is, and you know what? You're kind of clear-minded too. You're like, oh yeah, I can do this. And then when you do come back and you do things that you used to do and take fully for granted, and there would never be pain association with it.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden that hurts, and you get swelling afterwards, and you need to ice, and you're sitting for 3 days. All of that changes, and no matter how big this is. And no matter how big this is,
facts.
The ligaments heal at their own pace.
The ligaments don't care, bro.
Now, they don't care. Now, your DNA has a lot to do with how all of that stuff recuperates. And to me, when I look at Nick Chubb, he is a supremely DNA being. He's got it all. He's got the gift of power, strength, speed, agility, everything you want. This is uncharted territory. I'm not going to get excited because he can run linearly and look great. Why the request to not film? Where the hell are we?
That's another thing.
Did that come with a no filming?
When they did that, because it was weird, because you could film everything else in training camp. You could film literally everything else. I'm wondering if the Browns were nervous he may not look great. And that would get out there.
They've seen him run. They've seen him. This wasn't
weird.
the first time they saw him.
Do you think they're counting that as medical? Like, if he's in rehab, right? Is he still under a medical professional? So it's almost like saying, let me take a camera and watch you at PT, physical training.
Look, if you don't want it filmed, then do it outside of the practice time when the media availability is on.
Or inside at the
Or go inside and run inside.
Remember the first Rush Hour movie? Everything with Nick Chubb is G14 classified.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I mean, I get it. I don't really understand what advantage you gain or what disadvantage you put yourself under if there's video of him running. We saw him squat 1,000 pounds.
Yeah,
or whatever the hell it was.
And I bet you Kevin Stefanski did not like that.
Probably didn't.
He looks like he does not like any of that.
It's a message. As you see that, you're like, whoa, okay, dude's back to superhuman strength again.
But it's difficult. I don't want. See, sometimes when you're an athlete, and I'll tell you to this, Earl, you talked about his heart. Sometimes when you do got a big heart and you a hard worker, sometimes somebody got to pull you aside. But hey, bro, we know.
Save you from yourself.
We know, bro.
Like you be doing me?
Yeah, come on, bro. Hey, don't just
come under the wing.
Don't do it. Why do you think it took me 14 years to get here? I had to start over 3 times. I've been trying.
Bulk erase, Control Alt Delete.
I had to let me get rid of all these. Listen, but Nick, he want to show you I'm ready to go. And so what happens is if we start hyping it up like week one, You already know in the back of his mind that's where he want to be at. That's what he wants to be. You know how hard it was for him to watch the whole season last year and be in Nick Chubb? And you're right. So Jaden had 3 ACLs. I'd have had 2. ACL, MCL. I'd have had PCLs. I don't even count the scopes no more. I think I had like 7 or 8 scopes. But you're right. He about that time period, that 9 month, and you know when you get there because you're starting to do things and you feeling good.
Right.
You feeling good about yourself. You don't got no swelling. You without any of that going on. And you like, I'm ahead of schedule. But though, when you put them pads on, I've been there. You have to have supreme confidence in the repetitions that you've had and being able to do it. It's just like we talked about Deshaun Watson. You saw what Deshaun Watson said he was ready to go. But you see what it looked like when he didn't play for 2 years, right?
Yep.
Nick Chubb has not played football in a calendar year almost. Granted, it's Nick Chubb. Running backs have a less acclimation period, but everything he does is instinctual. So he got to trust without a shadow of a doubt that if I put my leg right here, it's going to be here when I get here.
Yeah.
Listen.
It's tough.
We sat here, we just talked about Deshaun Watson, seeing everything, hearing everything, and we all agreed that we glad that he has that type of chip on his shoulder. He uses it as a motivator. You think Nick Chubb didn't sit here and read and hear everything about his career being over, about him not being able to bounce back, about that being his last season with the Cleveland Browns, about he'd never be the same player again? You seriously think Nick Chubb didn't hear all that noise?
You know, I don't know though. I don't think he seeks any of that out.
No, I think he does.
You
I don't think he seeks it out.
I think he truly lives
I don't
it.
think he seeks it out, but I think he sees it and I think he hears it. And the thing about Nick Chubb is he's quiet. And quiet people is the people that you got to watch the most. This man has been chopping at the bit to touch the football field, to get out there and prove that, like, I still got it. And I hear what you're saying, G. Like, it's a dangerous sport, and you want to be careful. And you don't know what it's going to be until you get out there. But damn it, at some time, you got to get out there and see what it's going to be. All I'm doing, I'm just trusting on where we are as a country, as a society when it comes to technology and medicine. Yeah, Breece Hall didn't have 2 surgeries, but Breece Hall tore his ACL, and he came back, and he had a damn good season last year. Now, he didn't start the season week 1, I don't believe, but when he got out there, he didn't look like he lost a step.
Right.
I just trust the player, the person he is. I'm trusting medicine. And then I got some internal optimism as a fan of Nick Chubb and as a fan of this team.
I have that too.
Like,
and it's belief in the
it's
person.
belief, yeah.
This is a guy that we know has worked hard. We heard about him getting up every morning at 6 a.m., first one in, putting in all the work, doing everything he needs to do. The one thing you'll never have to question with Nick Chubb is effort. Like, he'll go to the effort bar and then he'll double it. So I'm not worried about that at all. But what I am worried about is what he doesn't know about what he's about to go through. The inline running thing is cake.
Yes, that's light.
I think that for a running back, the ACL is so much. It's the transmission, it's the motor, and it's the wheels. It's everything. And I believe that he will come back. I'm hopeful that he'll be back at the beginning of the season. I'm also hopeful that he'll be back and look very similar to the old Nick Chubb. But understand that the degree of difficulty that he faces is extremely high. Extremely high. There were some immediately after the injury that said this could be career ending. Now those whispers have kind of quieted down. He'll tell us. We can't see it in training camp. We'll see it his first game after 10 carries. We will all say, you know what? He's a little more hesitant. Running back can't lose that. You know what? He's lost a little bit of his speed. Running back can't lose that. He's lost a little bit of his agility. A running back can't afford to lose that. That's how great becomes average, and average becomes out of work.
And let me give y'all this really quickly. Y'all, I'm gonna just use what y'all said earlier. You said when we talk about the play calling and Kevin Stefanski and Ken Dorsey, it's always easier to say, okay, I'm gonna bring you along a little slower, Ken, and then if everything is great and we're rolling, I might give you the play calling abilities halfway through the season. But if I start off with you calling plays and it don't look good, guess what's gonna happen? I'd rather have Nick Chubb for a strong 12 games.
I would too.
At the end of the season.
Bring him back in October,
when
just to make sure.
When he's ready to go and he can come back and be Nick Chubb, rather than starting him off in the first part of the year and saying, "Ooh, we gotta ease him into the like he's gonna have to sit out a couple of games due to swelling. He's gonna have to do this." I'd rather have him ready to go 12 solid games at the end of the year when we need him in the division.
Yeah, the disaster is you use him weeks 1, 2, and 3, and week 3 he blows it out again. That's disaster.
Or you have to shut him down, shut him down, or like he was doing Deshaun Watson on one game, off one game,
Right.
He's off the list.
Listen.
Give him some time.
Listen, I just told the chat this. Nick Chubb don't talk and he get mentioned in rap songs. The man will be ready to go week 1. Big extra plug. Go listen after the show. 12 get behind me. I stiff arm him like I'm Nick Chubb. Trust me. Listen, he gonna be.
Don't you, guys? You do not stiff arm law enforcement. The stiff arm in 12. See, the decoding what's going on. You don't stiff arm the
That was a
cops.
cold line though. You know that was a
It
cold
was a cold line.
That was a cold line.
But people end up cold behind cold lines. Stiff.
UCSS does not endorse that action or any other actions and/or words in said song. If you're watching today's show, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It costs you $0.00, and we really appreciate it. Last topic on the Browns, guys, then we'll move on, talk some Guardians. But Jimmy Haslam and D. Haslam did their annual press conference from training camp yesterday, and the one thing that stood out was the stadium talk. And Jimmy essentially said the stadium options are down to 2, renovating the current stadium downtown or building a dome in Brook Park. He is not going to pay for it himself, and he is not going to put it on the ballot. Jay, what say you to hearing Jimmy Haslam on the record and miss not the right word, but officially confirm those two things?
Jay already knew this.
Rich people do
Do
rich
not-
people things.
What are you talking about? Jay knew this.
None of this surprised me
Not at all.
He wants a free lunch at the taxpayers' time. I'm not going to put it on the ballot.
That's not gonna be in the ballot. You don't get a vote.
So now he's telling us how all this is going to play out. Y'all just going to give me the money. I'm not even going to pull a gun out of my holster.
Nope.
You're just going to hand it over.
I'm not even gonna go
And
through
I'm
the
going to build a multi-billion-dollar empire where I control all the land, all of the commercial real estate, all of the dollars that flow through there. I'll get a chunk of every bit of it because it's my football team and I'm deciding to put it there. I would play the game of chicken, and I would say, cool, we'll renovate your stadium. You pay for it. We'll give you the dollars that we've committed to paying. There has been a changing of the momentum in these kinds of issues. He's not putting it on the ballot because he knows the gig is up.
Yeah.
Asking hard-working, tax-paying Americans who are watching their dollars go less far and less far every single day to pay for a billionaire's free ride, those days are over. Those days are over. And quite frankly, and I'll be honest with you on this, I'm surprised they lasted as long as they did. That is a great hoodwink that American sports fans fell for in droves. But Kansas City, they're Super Bowl champs.
They said, hell no.
Not on our watch anymore.
We're
done.
Ain't paying for that.
We're done. And by the way, this is a guy that took hundreds of millions of his own money and invested in another sports franchise.
That's what got him. That's
what did it.
That's what got him.
You want to get rich in multiple venues, and you want the hardworking taxpayers of America or of this county or city to pay for your billion-dollar toy box? No.
He double dipped.
Those days are over.
He double dipped, and then they went out very quick and was like, "Hey, we didn't publicize what that was. The number got vague.
I know it did.
That number got vague quick as hell. They was like, it's 250. It's 3. It could be a higher. It's 340. No. We didn't. I'm like, bro, you did that. And the thing that's crazy, he did it in a size market that is comparable to Cleveland. So when we looking at it, we like, so that money that you invested there, you could have took that money, mixed it with the money that you said you're willing to put up for this one, and you would have had 3/4 of what you
You're
wanted.
almost there.
You're almost there, bro. So what are we talking about here? Like, he's not gonna get that. He's not gonna even put it.
Not on our backs anymore. I think those days are over.
But what I will say is, we all know how this is gonna work, right? That dome, one way or another.
He'll get what he wants.
It's going to be up at Brook Park.
But he's going to have to pay for it.
He's going to have to pay. And by the way, this is just what happens.
And he should pay for it, by the way.
Because listen, we've been doing trickle-down economics in this country forever. Mm-hmm. We give all the rich people tax breaks, but you're going to pay. You're going to pay. And hopefully, out of the kindness of their heart, it will trickle down. I'm wondering what he's playing for Pilot J. I know he ain't. I know he's not paying no crazy taxes on that. No billionaire is paying taxes because they do have businesses in all different places. So here's the thing: trickle it on down to us, Jimmy. It's your time to pick up the tab. You know you got it. You're not getting taxed like that, and you can't say you don't got the money. We just saw you.
G. Bush, you talk about picking up the tab. That's a great analogy because this is what this is akin to. A billionaire takes 100 Browns fans out to the restaurant of his choosing.
It's crazy.
The restaurant of his choosing.
This is crazy.
Okay?
This is crazy.
And we eat like kings. Prime rib, filet,
Starters, oysters,
the starters, the wine,
bottles.
the champagne, the courses are flowing. Everybody's having a good time. And then Jimmy gets up from the marble room and says, y'all got this, right?
Right.
Hey, I enjoyed it. And walks out the front door. And we're sitting there going, oh my God. We wanted everything. And now we got to pay for it.
When it get to
splitting
them bottles of wine, Jay, it get real greasy in there.
Especially those 40-year-old bottles of wine.
Them old age joints, the ones that
the one they get up off the top ladder shelf in a marble room.
Hashtag
with each rung they climb, it gets pricier and pricier.
Hashtag boat life.
That's like if you think about it, that's kind of what's going on here. We get to enjoy the meal. We go to the games every Sunday. We get to enjoy the team. But the owner gets up and walks out, and we're going to pay for it. And we're already paying mightily for the ticket.
And the worst
now
part
you want us to build the mansion you live and play in.
And the worst part about it is,
how did we do that for that long?
The worst part, we go and the menu don't got no prices on it, so we just pick it.
Oh, of course. And they'll say it's gonna cost $800 million, and the price tag always comes in at $1.2 billion.
Always.
Like when do they come in and we're under budget? Never.
All the new stadiums are $1 billion.
And the thing of it is, if he wants to move it to Brook Park, his hand will be in every business that's around that stadium because he owns the land. So he's the landlord. So if Marble Room wants to put a Marble Room Brook Park, they're going to pay him a rent check every month. And so is every other business that's going to be on that land.
And he got it
This
free.
man's going to be wealthier beyond compare. Write the check. Build the stadium that you want. Build it. And we'll come. You know we're going to be there.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're also going to be there if it's right on the lakefront, too. We'll be there. We're going to go to the games wherever they're played. You want to get rich off of this mega complex, and you want us to pay for it. And even if it's not on the ballot, if the county pays for it and the state pays for it, where does that money come from? Your homeowner tax that you're now paying.
I don't even, and that go in escrow. I don't even like that. How you gonna make me put that in escrow right now?
So you got it when they need it.
So no, it's there. Don't. This ain't pay as you go. That's a whole nother thing.
But that really is that's a fair analogy.
Yeah.
He's asking to build this super complex on the backs of hardworking Clevelanders and Cuyahoga County residents, and that's nonsense. And he knows he can no longer put it up to our choice.
No,
because we're not dumb anymore.
Yeah.
We've wisened up to the hoodwink, to the scam that this was. I remember when they were building Raymond James Stadium in Tampa. I had just taken a job there as the local broadcaster for the ABC station there, and one of my colleagues and former great friend of mine, he's passed away, Chris Thomas, was the sportscaster at the NBC station. Chris was a thinking man. He was a brilliant, brilliant man. And I remember we were sharing pops one night after work, and he goes, "You going to call it Raymond James Stadium on the air?" And I go, I mean, I guess we have to.
Right.
They sold the naming rights. He goes, "You understand that this stadium was built with citizens' tax money. There was an initiative on the ballot, and it passed, and all of our taxes went up. And then the owner of the team put a for sale sign on the name of the stadium that we built and we paid for, and they're getting millions of dollars every year from Raymond James. And so all of the idiot broadcasters at Fox and ESPN will say, 'Welcome to Raymond James Stadium,' and they're going to give them millions more dollars in free advertising." He goes, "The words Raymond James Stadium will never come out of my mouth on TV." So you know what he did? He called it SITS. Let's go out to SITS for the highlights. The Jets will be at SITS on Sunday. I'm like, what the hell is SITS? CITS, Citizen Investment Tax Stadium. And the Buccaneers hated it.
Of course they did.
And they tried to get the man fired.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said, how long did he keep his job?
Well, he was secure enough in his position. He was a very popular sportscaster.
Now, don't you do that.
They weren't going to try. No, not for the rookies. And I was young at the time, okay? I was like 32 years old. You know what he told me? He's like, Crawford, don't get any wise ideas. You got a very bright future. They will fire you in a minute. You call it sits one time and your ass is out.
They both just looked at me like,
Earl? He was close to the finish line.
He was leaning into the tape. And you know what he said? I can get that off.
Don't do that.
And he did it.
I got it. I won't do that.
And it was brilliant. It was brilliant because he was really the first person that I had ever talked to about this debacle, this scam, that really saw it for what it was. Mm-hmm. He's like, bro, the hardworking welder down at the shipyard, the guy busting tables in Ybor City, the guy busted his hump picking strawberries 12 hours a day in the field. They're building Glazer Stadium.
Can't even go to it.
Can't afford to go to it.
Can't even afford it.
And they've got no choice as to whether or not their taxes go to it. That's not Raymond James Stadium. That's the Citizen Investment Tax Stadium.
The NFL,
it was brilliant.
The NFL has done such a tremendous job of building a cult.
It is a cult.
That is.
You're right.
It is now like water. It doesn't matter how much water costs. You'll pay whatever you need to get that water because you're thirsty, and we are all thirsty.
We're thirsty.
Big Nuggets.
Yeah, we got to get to the guards, guys. We'll talk more stadium in the next couple of days and weeks. I know Andrew Berry commented on the stadium today, so we'll break down what he said later on in the week. But tomorrow's the trade deadline. The Guardians just beat the Phillies, and we're going to talk about what that means for the future of the guards after a quick word from the number one sportsbook in America, FanDuel. You guys know I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop, but as we get deeper and deeper into the summer, we get fewer and fewer games, and the sports just aren't sportsing like I want them to, but FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day all summer long, so head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Speaking of Major League Baseball, the Guardians took 2 of 3 from the Phillies on the road despite pitching Ben Lively, Cookie Carrasco, and a rookie on Sunday in Joey Cantillo. The deadline is tomorrow. We've seen numerous teams across the league make some significant deadline acquisitions already. The Guards yet to make a move. So with about 30-ish hours left until the deadline, knowing where the Guardians stand, knowing how they can compete against the best teams in baseball, what are your guys' expectations for the next 30-ish hours for the Guardians? Buyers? Big-time buyers? Or is there a chance they're just going to stand pat and let this rock after a series where they beat the Phillies essentially without Josh Naylor?
You know what we talked about, man. Now, this is twice. They done already told you. We talked about the core 4. We talk about that core 4. They got a big 3 right over there with the Guardians. You know, as long as they got Naylor, Ramirez, and Quan, they can always say we like our young core. By the way, guys, look where we're at. The best record of Major League Baseball while using some of our young guys. And just think, we feel we're going to get better. Gavin Williams hasn't hit his stride yet. We have confidence that we're going to get some of our younger guys back with the arms, and we sent Logan Allen down. We're working on him. Tristan McKenzie, I think, is getting stronger every day. Lively has pitched his tail off, and we feel like he's really having a special year. So, you know, we felt really secure in our core, and we felt secure that we were able to go into the second half of the season by using some of the assets we have and not giving away some of the young, promising talent that we've been able to show at the major league level. So therefore, Minimoski, nothing's going down.
Whoa!
Minimoski, they might get a little arm here or there, but the fact that they in the first place, it only emboldens them, right? We haven't learned from the 51 Cavs, the 51-win Cavs.
Hey.
We ain't learned from that.
You know, you the baseball expert on this panel. Listen, Guardians, man, please don't make me come out here tomorrow and have to cook you.
I told you.
Please don't make me come out here tomorrow and have to cook you.
Know.
Because
well,
as
the
a casual,
deadline's tomorrow at 4, right?
But listen,
Nothing. No.
So they have until tomorrow at 4.
As a casual fan who's been totally vested in this team all season long, and I see the potential that this team has in being able to reach the World Series, you know, talking to guys who really know way more about this game than I do, right? I'm starting to get a little worried. I'm seeing teams around us making moves. Steve just put in the chat, the Royals just made a move today. They got Michael Lorenz from the Rangers to bolster up their starting rotation.
Yep.
The Guardians just sitting here playing tic-tac-toe.
And by the way, they're light years behind us.
They just sitting here with us. They playing tic-tac-toe, playing around, messing around. Things like that. Like, I said this last week, I get so sick and tired of this passive-aggressive approach from this baseball team. And it seems like they does this more often than not. Are they a good franchise? Yes. Do they got a good front office? Yes. The Guardians do just enough every single year to be in the mix, to hang around, teeter in the mix all year long. They play with our feelings more than women do. All year, every single year, right? And then you get to a point to where you really got an opportunity to do something great this year, and you still hesitant of being all in. Stop trying to sell this fan base on this passive aggressive BS, man, when you know if you put a quality product out there, we'll show up. Everybody want to talk about this small market, this team not having money to spend. I don't know the ins and outs of how all that stuff go. All I know is in the streets, you got to spend money to make money. And I'm telling you, if you spend the money, if you be aggressive, if you go out here and get some quality players in here, you will make that money back. So if them not making the move is about the money side of things and all of that, man, that's going to piss me off so bad. Because you can make the money back, but you scared money don't make no money.
No, I agree with all that. You got to spend it to make it. I think every team has an obligation to its fan base around the middle of July to make a proper assessment as to what you think your team really is. You've had 4 months to look at it. Mm-hmm. By then, you know what you are, and these are there's conflicting set of facts here. Okay, 3 weeks ago, I was saying on this show, you go all in. You get Fetty, you get maybe another arm and another bat. You go all in because at the time they had the best record in Major League Baseball and they hadn't yet hit a terrible skid. Remember, in May when we were discussing this team, I said, there is going to be a drought for this club.
Yeah.
There will be a time when we look at things and say, uh-oh, are we who we thought we were? So here's what the front office has to decide, and there's conflicting facts. On one hand, you've got the best record in the American League. The best record in the American League. You're the second best record in Major League Baseball, and the only team with a better record than you just took 2 of 3 at their place with a pitching staff made up of Band-Aids. You know, their bullpen yesterday, I think, went 6+ innings or 6 innings and gave up 1 hit. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, there's 2 things. Who you are since opening day and who you've been the last month. Mm-hmm. And that's where things get gray.
Sticky. Mm-hmm.
They're 12-16 in the last month. And that scares the hell out of me. And I was making the case upstairs Friday to some of our huge sports fans up there. I don't think I'm any longer in the camp. We're all in, man. We got to go all full Texas Rangers here. And we've got to add all of these pieces because this is ours. We can pull off a Texas Rangers. We can do what the Atlanta Braves did a couple of years ago. We can do this. After watching them the last month, I'm not as convinced. And so the front office is doing this gentle mental gymnastics today. Can we win this? Can we do it? Or is this a situation where we maybe make a move to get to the ALCS, but we don't really believe we have a realistic chance of winning? That's their question to answer. I am less in the we absolutely can win it camp today than I was a month ago. I'm nervous. Now, the weekend series gave me great optimism because it seems that we're winning. Now, obviously, Cookie got smashed, but, you know, you're rolling these rookies out here and, you know, even though we gave up 3 runs, the bullpen came in, slammed the door, we got the win. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. I really don't know where they are. Are they a full-on contender? Because it basically is like a poker game. You know your hand. You've been holding it. You know it. Are you all in? Are you 60% of the chips in? Are you 10% of the chips in? We're going to find out what the Guardians front office believes tomorrow. But here's a warning.
Okay, go ahead.
Last year at this time, they were further out of first place than the Royals were when the Royals just made a move. The Royals are further from us than we were from the Twins last year. We we're sellers. We got rid of Aaron Savali, who has done nothing since he left here. But at the time, he was pitching very well for us. And it was a white flag to the fans. Guys, there's nothing to see here. We're selling. We don't believe in this team. We're going to try to keep our kids and move forward. I believe it was the very next night.
He hopped on a plane and went to Houston.
They were no hit by the Houston Astros
Yeah, they were.
the very next game.
They had to get on that plane and go down there and explain to them folks how it is, why they waved that white flag and shipped them up the creek without a paddle.
And I'm connecting dots here, okay? I am purely connecting dots. I have not heard this from anybody. I have not. There's been no reporting on this. I think that's the day they lost Tito Francona.
Oh, I remember you were sitting there talking about it.
Well, I'm like, if I'm Tito, I'm handing in my resignation. I'm out. You don't believe in what this team is doing. You're going sell mode when you're 2 games out of first place. They made a couple of other moves leading up to Savali. Savali was the white flag. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing to me that they're going to do that. Can we take that shot of Progressive Field one more time? Steve, you had it up there a minute ago. I want us to see the shot of Progressive Field while I say this. There is nothing in all of sports, to me, I'm a baseball guy, more exciting than walking into that building at 7 o'clock on an early October afternoon or evening with the fans packed to the rafters, the lights brightening up that beautiful green turf below, and getting ready for a baseball playoff game. There is nothing like it to me. And I've been to Super Bowls. I've been to all of it. Now, I haven't been to a Super Bowl with the Browns. That would eclipse it for me. Maybe an AFC championship game in Cleveland Browns Stadium would eclipse it for me. But right now, of all of the wonderful things I've been fortunate enough to experience in my sports fandom and my career as a journalist, there's nothing that beats the feeling of walking into that building at night in October for a playoff game. Do not steal this from the fans.
I think they're stealing it more for, not even stealing it from the fans. This is why I advocate every single player. If you feel like they ain't trying to win, I believe in people being disruptive, because sometimes disruptive people change the course of life.
Well, absolutely.
And we applaud people. We applauded the fact that Jose Ramirez gave back all this money. I would go, if they didn't make a move, I would march into the front office and I would say, listen, if you guys aren't going to make a deal, I'm going to publicly. And you know, Jose Ramirez don't talk, right? He don't talk to the media. He's people say, well, he can speak English, but there's a thing where he doesn't, not comfortable with talking, right? So he very rarely talks and he's in his own world. Do you know how much things would move if Jose Ramirez, the guy who gave back the money, woke up one day and was like, let me come talk to y'all real quick. I'm disappointed in where we're at right now, because this is not the first time you've done this.
Right.
This is, if they don't make a move, they are content with wasting his career.
Apparently. Apparently.
There's nothing you can tell me.
And I'm sure part of the conversation when they were discussing this contract, whether this was said or unsaid, it was implied. Okay, now this $95 million that I just gave you as a discount, because the Blue Jays offer was said to be close to $100 million more. Mm-hmm. I want you to spend that money. I want you to reinvest that money in this team. What free agent have they signed since then? Last year they got Zunino, flame out. Bell, flame out. Poorly spent. But at least they tried. This year they're like, okay, we're going to walk it back with what we have, see what happens. And it's worked. But now is the opportunity to go out and get a couple of frontline starting pitchers, because Cookie isn't going to do it.
Like you said,
I love Carlos Carrasco. He's not going to do it in the playoffs.
Like you said, man, don't steal this from the fans.
Don't
right?
take
because
it from us.
The Guardians have overachieved to this point of the season, right? They have reached heights that we didn't expect them to reach.
You're right.
And when people sit back and look at this team and you see them go toe-to-toe with the best team in baseball on their home field and come out victorious in that series, when you see them beat at the top of the AL all season long, it's clearly everything is right there in front of you. And as a front office and as an organization, for you to stand back, sit idle, and do absolutely nothing is really sending a wrong message to the fans. It's telling people in Cleveland that you don't give a damn and that you're just willing to sit back and be mediocre and be content with just being a team that's in the mix every single year versus a real threat and a real competitor to go chase the World Series.
Yeah, he did this style of, and this is the thing with baseball. Like, I'm watching the Guardians, and we all watching them. The style of play that they playing, that's not, you can't carry that to no postseason. I know we like, oh, we got these young guys that's coming up, but you can't have trust in Freeman with guys on it's ducks on the pond. You talk about, listen, I hope Rocchio come through. No, that is you at Yankee Stadium. Like, we all, like, sometimes the record, and this is and sometimes for me, it's almost like a gift and a curse, because they do play so well, and they play well in series like that against the Phillies, and because they do have one of the top records in Major League Baseball, and because they do have this resiliency to them, and there are a bunch of guys in a team that you like, with a manager that you like, there's a lot of good energy. You got the number one pick. He look like he gonna be something. It's almost like that gives them all the ammunition they need to say, guys, everything is good. We are at a good place. But it's fool's gold. I'm gonna tell you that right now. If you think you're going into Houston, or you're going into Yankee Stadium, or you're playing Baltimore, and you think you're gonna be able to come in and play games where you're not gonna get no runs, you can't get 3 or 4 innings out of your starting lineup with your pitchers, that's not workable wins in the postseason. It's not gonna work.
Jay, with what we've seen the last couple of years from the Braves and Texas last year and Arizona, who made the World Series, not being in that pole position heading into the playoff stretch, especially from kind of this point of the season on, I know you said you're not 100% sold this team should go all in to make the big swing, but I feel like with the way baseball's playoffs are set up now, you don't have to be in the Guardians' position to decide this team's capable of making the run that we all hope and dream it can to still make a move. Do you think what we've seen over the last few seasons with some of those teams making these deeper playoff runs will change or impact at all how the Guardians approach these next 30 hours?
It should, because when the Rangers made those moves last year, they were looked at as a team that was in one of 8 to 12 that could win it. We had a World Series last year between the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Texas Rangers.
Yeah.
That's really all you need to say. It wasn't the Dodgers. It wasn't the Phillies. It wasn't the Yankees. It wasn't the Braves. It wasn't these colossal spenders. It was teams that are just doing it a different way. Now, the Rangers went in. The Rangers had some big-name, high-dollar guys. They made some great moves at the deadline. They improved their roster, top to bottom, and they won. There's no guarantees in this sport. None.
Right.
But I'll guarantee you this. If you don't get to the party, you can't win the party. And where they are right now, I know everybody said it was a fait accompli that we're going to make the playoffs, but you're 12-16 over your last month. If you play at that pace from today to the end of the regular season, where you win 3 and lose 4, you're not going to make the playoffs. You're not. Because there are the Twins are coming. The Royals are coming. The Red Sox have improved. The Yankees are back. Do you want to roll the dice and be a wild card team? Right now, you're in position to be the 1 seed in the American League.
That's
with the roster you have.
That's the big part.
Go bolster your roster and give this fan base a chance to pop the cork on a bottle of champagne that has been chilling since 1948.
Let me ask you this. Do you feel like, and this is the way I think about certain things, when it comes to certain owners, do you believe that their teams are just a business like a restaurant? Or
I hope not. We deserve better than that.
Yeah, we do.
But they operate it almost like that, right? Right now, if I was a businessman, I'm like, okay, well, we're getting good reviews. People are coming to the restaurant. Why do I need to upgrade the food? Like, why do I need to put an expensive steak on the market when we're doing good with this?
I understand
chef?
what you're saying, and to me, the evidence would lead me to say that's exactly what they're doing. But I've met Mr. Dolan. I do have respect for him. I know he cares about this team. He wants to have a winner here. I know that. The question is, can he afford to have a winner
in
here?
business? I'm just
But I mean,
maybe.
if these deals that we're talking about, you're going to give up some prospects and you're going to get a couple of arms. The White Sox have 2 arms that I would trade for right now. But I think Fetty should be the guy that they're targeting. He's pitched against us twice this year. He's gone 6 innings both times, and I think given up 3 hits and no runs in both starts. Like he's had our number. He's looked really good the couple of times I've watched him. I have watched him and said the second time I watched him, I imagined he was wearing a Guardians uniform because I knew that the White Sox, they've had 2 14-game losing streaks this year. They are 54 games, I believe, under 500 right now.
That's crazy.
54 games under 500. So, I mean, they've got 81. If they won all of their games from here on out, they'd finish 500.
That's crazy.
And they'd have to win 64 games or 54 games to do it. They'd have to win 54 games in a row to be 500.
We got our guest, so I can't ask you this after the show. I just want to ask you about Blitzer and Colic and Boston with the Guardians.
I would hope that would make a difference. I would hope that the Blitzer group wants a winner here too. I would imagine that there have been meetings between the Blitzer group and the Dolans, and maybe Matt is a part of that too. I ask him these things. He's very tight-lipped. Should be. I'm glad he doesn't talk to me about that. But they've got to make a move. They owe it to this fan base. As I said, that bottle of champagne has been chilling since '48. Can you imagine what a World Series, what that would feel like? What October would feel like in the city of Cleveland?
I'm getting chills just thinking about it.
If they did what the Texas Rangers were able to do last year.
I'm getting chills just thinking about it. I can remember, that Game 7 in 2016.
Oh, my God.
That anticipation building of, I'm about to party downtown Cleveland just like I did
a couple months earlier.
A couple months earlier. So
we deserve it.
We deserve it.
These fans deserve it. And by the way, these fans have supported this club much more than they have in the past. The games are well attended. Our attendance figures are up. We're more towards the middle of the pack now than the bottom 4 or 5. So, I mean, I don't know how else I can say it. Again, I don't know that I'm 100 chips into the middle of the table like I was a month ago, but I'm putting a good number of them in there, and I do think that we've got to make moves. Don't give away the farm, but we're a couple of pieces away to being able to do this, and what a magical ride it would be.
We're going to bring in our next guest after a quick word from Game Time. If you want to see the Guardians and hopefully whoever they acquire at the trade deadline in person, you better buy your tickets online using the Game Time app. We've all used it on the show before. It is simple, so simple that even Director Steve can figure out how to navigate the app and buy tickets. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Plus, the prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. The Game Time app has priority last-minute deals, flash deals, zone deals, all in pricing views from your seat. Their lowest price guarantee will credit you 110% of the difference if you can find a cheaper ticket online, but spoiler alert, you won't. So take all the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. And with that, we are thrilled to welcome in Vic Joseph, who is calling the NXT Great American Bash tomorrow on the Sci-Fi Network. It's a 2-week TV special. There's 3 championship matches from the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, so make sure you guys tune in to Vic on the call for that. And with that, Vic, how you doing today, man? Thanks for joining us.
What is going on, guys? It's a pleasure to be here.
Do you agree with us? Do the Guardians have to go all in right now and add some pieces? I know you're a huge Cleveland sports fan. What are we waiting for?
All I want to say, too, is to be sitting with Jay Crawford, this is I'm mind-blown right now. I even texted one of the producers, is that Jay Crawford? Is that Jay Crawford? I would have signed up for this. This is awesome. It's funny because I haven't talked Cleveland sports in such a long time, but I have a garden shed that when my wife and I bought our house, I said, I'm turning this into my man cave. It's all Cleveland. I sit there and watch the Guardians each and every single night if I can, the Browns every Sunday, and I look at it and go, man, how can we be this good? And then all of a sudden it's 7-0. What's the missing piece? Why is it? Why'd I just waste 3 hours when I could be laying in my pool? But yeah, they got to do something. There's something certainly missing. The bullpen's been great. I'm not sold on the starting rotation. personally, of the starting 5. And I think another bat may be needed as well. But they need to do something. I would say, yes, I agree.
All right, let's go all in. Let's do it for Vic's man cave. I mean, can you imagine how nice it would be? Vic, if you buy a pennant to fly outside your man cave that literally says, and when I say this out loud, I'm going to get goosebumps. 2024 World Series champion Cleveland Guardians. Like,
there it is. They just popped up on my arm right now. I got a Guardians flag hanging in front of my in the front of the house, actually. So I would love to put up a Guardians. I'd love to put up a Browns. I'd love to put up a Cavs. I mean, I just won a championship, and I definitely would be adding a lot of extra special things to the wall in the man shed.
Well, listen, Vic, man. Listen, I didn't know Vic.
GB, what's up, my dog?
I know him 30 years. I didn't get no introduction. He was like, Jake Crawford. Yeah, I'm passing out.
Oh yeah, sorry. I get to talk to you a little bit more than I ever get to talk to Jay Crawford. So
right.
Sorry.
Hey, you know what's wild? Like, for y'all that don't know him, you worked at, I worked with him at the Fan, and like one day he just woke up and was like, "Yeah, dog, I'm doing WWE. Yeah, I'm like, how do you have matches?
It wasn't like that.
It was. I swear, it was like one day they was like, "Yeah, Vic, yeah." Like it was 2 weeks later, it was like, "Yeah, bro." Like I'm at training camp. You got how the hell do you get that off? Like, all right, so what? How did that pop off? Did you just say, "Look, I'm talking Guardians, but now I'm talking Sting"? Like, what's going on? How'd it go down?
Look, man, a lot of people don't know I was on the Independent since 2009, so this has been quite the journey. I always tell people I've had 2 careers. One was with CBS in Cleveland, covering the Cavs during the 4 NBA Finals, the Guardians or Indians World Series. You guys were just talking about the Browns for all those years. And the entire time, not only was that a passion of mine and a love, but also was professional wrestling. And this is the first interview I've done since my father passed away, and he passed away in October, and he introduced me to professional wrestling. I've gone to shows at the Richfield Coliseum. I've gone to SummerSlam in the 90s at what was called the Gun at the time. Oh, yeah. So to be back, it's special, but this was a journey. This didn't just happen overnight, GB, but this definitely is a dream job and a dream scenario to be coming back with the WWE to Cleveland to SummerSlam.
That's awesome. Time out.
You got me so excited, my earpiece fell out.
So wait, Vic, because I work at 92.3 The Fan, so y'all telling me that's the plug. You start at 92.3 The Fan.
Your path is NASCAR.
And then you could be a national phenomenon like Vic, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what
all you got to do is listen.
That's what we doing.
It's just hard work.
Vic,
it's just hard work.
I seen that you had a birthday earlier this month, man. Happy belated birthday. You an 80s baby, so that means you got some sense, right? That means you got some sense. Man,
the kids spend every cent that I have, too.
2-part question, with you being on that grand scale with in the WWE, what do you talk to people about? What's it like being from Cleveland, Ohio? And then second part of this, I need your top 5 wrestlers of all time. We clearly from the same wrestling era. I need to know what those are.
Oh, I'll start with the second part, too. Shawn Michaels is number 1. For me. And it's weird because that was my hero growing up. I have said before, he is the biggest professional influence on my life. I don't know if I would have ever had a WWE dream if it were not for Shawn Michaels. And now that he and I work together hand in hand every Tuesday on NXT, which we'll be doing tomorrow night on Sci-Fi with the Great American Bash, to have his phone number and to get a text from Shawn Michaels is kind of like if you remember being like a freshman and you have that like cute girl and your butterflies start going.
Right.
Like still to this day, he's larger than life to me. So he's probably 1 through 5. But to give you a list,
that's great.
He'd be 1. He'd be 1. I think Kurt Angle would be 2. Edge would be 3. Bret Hart would be in my top 5 as well. And then it's hard not to throw The Rock up there as well. The Undertaker would be an honorable mention as well. And if you're looking at more locally guys, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, they'd be honorable mentions as well.
You like the Intercontinental Champions. That's your belt. Like you had all the dudes. Yeah, like.
Oh yeah, workhorses. They're the workhorses. They're the backbones. They're the guys that, when they go out there, they're doing 25, 30 minutes. They make you fall in love with what the art of professional wrestling is. And they're the ones that keep you in your seat because you're on the edge of it the whole time. Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? How's it going to happen? I also don't want to be rude. I want to finish the first part of that question. What do I tell people about Cleveland? I tell people that it's a hardworking town. It's made me who I am. It's that hard hat, lunch pail mentality. And I'm really excited from the bottom of my heart to have SummerSlam coming back to Cleveland, Ohio, because I think the fans are going to show up. I think the fans are going to show out, and they are going to be on a large global stage showing what Cleveland is all about.
How do the Cleveland wrestling fans compare to those in other cities?
Cleveland's got a strong fan base, Jay. I mean, take a look at there's myself. There's Johnny Gargano, who I think joined you last week.
He was on the show.
The Miz is from Cleveland as well. There's a lot of actually production people, from writers to cameraman to security guards, that are from Cleveland. So I think there's definitely a deep-rooted fan base from Cleveland. There's a lot of great independents in Cleveland that I was a part of as well. But Cleveland's up there. Chicago's its own breed. New York, its own breed. London is awesome. Going international. They're always a trip. They're always so fun to be around. And what's cool is no matter where you go right now, everyone seems to be a wrestling fan. Everyone seems to have this wrestling bug, and every city is so great in their own separate way.
It really is amazing, the fan base. And they've ebbed and flowed, and they've had peaks in popularity and some dips. But, boy, it just does. You're right, Vic. It seems like right now the iron is so hot for this sport. And you look at some of the deals that they have signed for the broadcast rights, and anybody that questions the influence and the popularity of the sport, they're just not paying attention. Hey, is Coachman still with WWE, Jonathan Coachman? Does he
No,
do anything with
he
you
is
guys?
not. He is not. It's been a few years. I even think pre-pandemic. I could be wrong with that, but no, he's no longer affiliated. But I do want to touch on something, Jay, that you brought up when you talk about money. I think something that a lot of people overlook, and what's great for the city of Cleveland, is the economic impact that SummerSlam is going to bring. Jobs, people being able to make some money this week and really put it back into the city, put it back into the families, put it back into the community. And that's something that I think it's overlooked a lot when we roll into a town, whether it's for a SummerSlam or a WrestleMania, is the impact we have on the local economy. So that's something also, Jay, and guys, that I want you to look at in a few months when those numbers come down, is to see not only does WWE come in and let you escape reality for a few hours, for maybe a few days, but also what we do locally for all the economies and how we just make every city better along the way.
That's awesome. It really is.
So Vic, I know we talking about SummerSlam, but we both know that WrestleMania is the granddaddy. Hypothetically,
Sure
WrestleMania comes to Cleveland. Is it at the current Cleveland Browns Stadium downtown, or is it at the new dome in Brook Park?
Man, if I would have had $1, I would have bet my son. They are going to ask me this question about WrestleMania. Here's the thing. WrestleMania has shown it can work in a stadium, Philadelphia, New York, that you don't need a dome. Is a dome great? Yes. I think the city of Cleveland, it doesn't matter. This weekend is an opportunity to show up and show out, as I said, to put your name on the map for a future WrestleMania, and I think the city of Cleveland can do it. If it was my choice, it'd be in a retractable dome that we could open up and see the sun, or we can close it, whatever's going to be better, so that my wife will come to more football games with me in the winter.
Nice. Well said. Yeah, because it gets downright brutal, especially on the lake with no lid. It is. I was at that Saints game a couple of years ago, and I know this sounds like hyperbole, but I don't think I've ever been colder. It was just brutal, bone-chilling cold.
Not good.
Johnny Candace and I were at the Jets game last year when they, I forgot the emojis do the thumbs up and stuff on the phone. We were at the Jets game last year when they clinched the playoffs, and I said, honey, do you want to go? My wife, Mackenzie, and we were coming up from Orlando, and she said, it's too cold. And I said, oh, come on. And when we got there, I mean, it was cold enough. We were going to buy blankets. That's how chilly we were, because we got that Florida blood now. But there's nothing like being down at Cleveland Browns Stadium. And for someone who worked, GB, talked about 92 through the fan, someone who was on the Browns network for so many years, who worked at the stadium, who went to training camp, to be back there with this event this upcoming weekend, it's hard to put into words.
Speaking of you back in the day, we talk about low lights, because you were like there in the dark ages. Like we was working for the Browns radio network, and when we was doing these games, and this was like
Were you there for 0-16?
Oh yeah, 0-16, 1-15, all those.
GB jokes that I got up and just walked out and went to the WWE. The last thing I ever did was the Steelers game when they lost and went 0-16. I remember taking my headset off, putting it down, saying, "See you guys," and I walked right out the door. That was the last day that I was there, actually.
And I was going to ask you. You even to answer your own question. I was going to say, what is the lowest point that you look back on right now in that time period with the Browns, and you think, man, that was so funny. How far we've gone.
0-16 isn't funny at time, but now looking back on it, it's pretty hilarious. I would also say the fandom that the city had for Johnny Manziel the night he got drafted. I remember we being there in Draft Central at the Browns Network, and everybody started sprinting up and down the halls as if we won the lottery. And then we get to the season, and we're in training camp, and it's what questions can you, what questions can't you ask him? I was on the plane with him. And actually, Jay, I had a little bit of heat and anger with one of your ESPN people that were working at the time. I will not say her name, but I took a picture of Johnny Manziel on an airplane coming back from Vegas. I was on the same flight he was on, and then she stole my photo and used it as her own.
Are you kidding? Oh, I gotta find out.
I'll never forget that.
That is.
I will text you offline who it was, but I was so angry that I didn't even get credited because at that point you're talking about someone in Cleveland who is just trying to break into that bigger market. I finally got this cool story. Johnny Manziel is asleep in the middle seat on a Southwest flight, and I post it, and then someone who's a much bigger name takes it right from me.
Give me that.
Wow. That's garbage.
Hit you with that Adam Schefter.
Garbage.
GB, I will text you. I will text you as soon as I get off here with who that person was.
I'm trying. I've got two guesses, but I don't want to say on air because I don't want to out her. I don't want to incorrectly point the finger at someone because that the guesses that I would have would be people that would do that. And then if I'm wrong, I'm rolling on somebody for no reason.
That person was totally fine.
Yeah, I don't want
I'll be the middleman to make sure both guesses and correct answers.
All right, good.
Get swapped.
I have a rule. I just don't talk any garbage about any colleague. I mean, there's some I like, there's some I don't. But I get the grind, so I'm not going to throw any darts on air. But we can talk about it off.
Yeah, right.
Hey, Vic.
Yeah, we'll talk about it off air.
You're living the American dream. You really are. You're where you want to be. You're where you've dreamt of being your whole life. And to me, the amazing thing is you're doing it next to the person that probably made you the fan that you are today. So as a guy who's living his dream, literally, give some advice to all of our viewers on how not to lose focus and to stay on the path. And it's a grind. It doesn't happen overnight. It does take time. What advice would you give to anybody watching, not necessarily about how to become a sportscaster, but how to get to your place, wherever that is?
It's a mentality, and I think it goes back to being from Cleveland, and it's that hard hat, lunch pail mentality that I have. And look, I'm no different than anybody else. I'm from Cleveland. I'm a fan. I love all sports. I love professional wrestling. Never lose your fandom. Never lose your drive. Don't be worried to make mistakes because not everybody's perfect in this world, and I've made my fair share. But to be here in this seat, it didn't happen overnight. People don't know about me driving from Cleveland to Philly, Philly to New York to Baltimore, back to Cleveland to make it there in time to be part of the Cleveland Browns kickoff show at 8 o'clock in the morning, and just being in the car and sleeping in gas stations like Pilot on the interstate. People don't know those stories. And that's the thing that separates a lot of people is, do you have that drive? Do you have that determination? Do you have the ability to push through no matter what? And I think a lot of people do, and it comes down to self-belief. I always knew that I was going to get here. I always believed in myself, and I surrounded myself with good people who, there's so much negativity in the world, right? You can go on social media and it just ruins your day in 4 or 5 minutes with all the negativity. But if you put people around you that are positive, that support you, that are a good group to vent to, that you know it's not going to run off and be told to 100 different people, that means the world. So that self-belief, that determination, that mentality that you're willing to grind it out and do whatever it takes, you can achieve anything. And that's something that I live by. That's something I try to instill into my children, because I am living the dream, my own personal dream. This is all I've ever wanted to do since I was a little kid playing with my Hasbros in Independence, Ohio, was be a professional wrestling commentator, to do WrestleMania. I've done that. The only thing I have left is to call the main event of WrestleMania that hopefully one day I will achieve.
You will achieve it, I have no doubt. Vic Joseph joining us on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. I love your story. I'm glad you shared it. I even love more your advice. I love the advice of staying off social media. Positivity will not get you to your destination. Negativity will not get you to your destination.
Negativity.
Any negativity
Jay,
you can eliminate, get rid of it.
Jay, I know you got tongue-tied. I've been trying not to get tongue-tied here, having you interview me, because this is like bucket list type stuff for me right now. Jay Crawford, ladies and gentlemen. I hope, G. Bush, you guys are understanding who's sitting next to you right now.
No, listen, Vic, by now they're just like, oh, shit, Jay's here again today.
Hey, listen, I know who it is. I know who it is. I'm like, listen, you now on that list. Man, congratulations on all of your endeavors. I might need the whole 20. Like, you know what I'm saying, until I get paid.
No. GB, I let you borrow money years ago. Hey, you still owe me money for a jet pizza you ordered one time at 12:30 in the morning over at the Fan. I got receipts on that. I got receipts.
And all of your what's your shoe budget looking like? You got when I knew you
don't want to know. You don't want to know.
What's your shoe budget looking like, Vic?
Oh, Vic shoe game.
I'll throw it out there. I got about 80 pairs of shoes.
Nice.
About another 20 pairs of dress shoes, but I only wear the same on clouds. I got Jordans that still sit in the box. I only wear them with one outfit.
Okay.
What's your favorite number of J's? What are you, a ones guy? You a 11s guy? What are you?
I'm an old school high top guy. Same standard. I don't need any of the new stuff. I just want classic. Give me classic. I'm old fashioned.
He's Cleveland through and through. Vic, thanks, man. Enjoy the call. We're going to be watching, and hopefully you'll be a regular. We want to see you soon. Thanks, Vic.
Oh, thank you guys so very much for having me able to come on and talk WWE.
I'll send you that Cash App for that personal pen, that Little Caesars.
It's
only $5.
Hey, GB, you missed your calling, man. If the NIL deals were out when you were in college, I think you would have been a WWE superstar.
I would have been like, if my knees was working, I would be.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like I would really do like a ladder match.
He's bitter that the NCAA settlement goes back to 2016.
Let's not get crazy on ladder match, GB. Come on now.
Money?
Nah.
Money?
Hey, Thugalicious.
No, you just be Bush. That's all you need, Bush.
Pause. You can't do that.
Yeah, pause.
Pause. We can't do that. We can't do that here, Big.
Vic, thank you so much. I'll get you Jay's answers, and we can make sure.
All right, Vic, man, that'd be great, bro.
On the same page.
See you guys.
Vic Joseph,
Take
thanks
care.
for joining us on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show today. Guys, we got one last quick read, and by read, it's just a thank you to the viewers out there. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Costs you $0, 0 cents. Helps us get the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show content to everyone on the interweb. Plus, if you haven't already, you can text the number on the bottom of your screen right now to apply for the newsletter. It sends a top 5. It gives a member shout out. It gives you everything you missed from the week before. And if you missed it over the weekend, the Guardians' #1 overall pick, their first ever #1 overall pick, Travis Bazzana, made his professional debut with the Lake County Captains. He picked up 2 hits on Sunday, a single and an extra base hit. I understand it's Lake County. I understand it's high A ball, but looked pretty impressive in his initial at-bats against legit professional pitching, G.
Bring him up. So bring him all the way up.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Hey, look, well, I need to see him. Like this man, look, hey, look, right now, look at this. Look at that. Come on now, look at that.
Now, in his first game, he struck out twice and hit into a double play. Well, what should have been a double play. But it was an unclean turn, and so he actually got an RBI, I think, or knocked in a run.
But look how he rebounded. Look how he came back.
No, he came back. He came back.
The kid's not gonna melt. You can't use this with this kid. See, I didn't do my homework. This guy could come up and bat 0 for 96, and he still would not melt.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I'm not ready to bring him up. I'll bring him up in September for sure.
Hey, listen, but you got to start the drum now.
You
gotta
do. First of all, he's got got swaggy lettuce.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, remember when Bryce Harper came up and everybody saw that swing and they're like, oh my goodness, this guy's going to set records. But then it was the lettuce that really kind of separated him from all the other guys. The swing wasn't bad, but he's got the do.
You got it?
He's got the swing. He's got the want to. I didn't see anything over the weekend that gives me any pause at all. I was a little nervous that he had 2 Ks in his first game in 3 at-bats. But he bounced back nicely and got to wait about a month before we know what we have, or at least think we know. Yeah.
Do we?
Yeah,
you
do.
know what you had. Go back to that. Can we get that back again where he was at the cages with Jose Ramirez? Baseball players at OU, there was a different level. The hockey players hung by themselves. The baseball players hung by themselves. When you see a baseball player, you know they're a nondescript person because they can blend in, but you know they do something, but they be wearing nondescript clothes like gray t-shirts.
Right.
He had this button up he had was paper mache. I don't know where he got that. He got this from Goodies or Walmart or whatever it was. You know good and well that button up he had on cost like 36 cents.
So you didn't like it?
No, I loved it because that means he's a hard-nosed baseball player.
What did he get?
Nothing flashy.
$10 million?
He got $10 million in the bank, but that button up was like $2. You know he's all about his craft.
All right, good.
He's all about his craft.
If you do baseball walk-ins and you compare them to NFL and NBA walk-ins, baseball players, you're right. You see those dudes at the mall. You wouldn't even know what they were doing.
They would get on you about that.
But when you're like Joe Burrow and you come in with a full-length white mink, like, come on, bro.
Jay and his baseball buddies wear the same color jeans. There's no variation.
No.
They better not be no darker or no lighter. Like, the boys would be like...
And a T-shirt, like, baseball players just T-shirts.
That's it.
That's the game. That's all we wear.
No name on it, just
shirt.
It fits good, and I could drink a Miller or Bud Light with it. You know, if you want to get uppity, you'll get an import beer that tastes like apple cider once in a while. But
give me a Sam Adams. We don't even have to go import.
Let me ask you a question.
Just go high-end
If
domestic.
Travis, you said you want Travis up here by September.
Yeah.
I would like to see him
So
by September.
it's July 29th. Like, how fast? Like, what does the timetable look like in order for him?
I'd leave him there for 2 weeks.
Okay.
I'd get him to Akron for 2 weeks, and then I'd see what we have. I'm not bringing him up if he's hitting collective 197. I'm not doing it. But, yesterday is a perfect example. They bring this kid up to pitch. I think he was just 1-1 in Columbus with like a sub-3 ERA. Some of the jumps that they move, some of the guys they bring up, you're like, whoa, okay, that was... Now, there's a lot of attention on him. He's in the spotlight. But I've run my theory past baseball lifers, guys that are still in the game today, either played, coached, scouted, whatever. And I said I'd bring him up by September, and I didn't get any crooked looks from any of them. They all said it could very well happen.
He will be the best #1 overall selection in the city of Cleveland since
LeBron James.
Amen.
I mean,
hold on.
We've only had.
I mean, we didn't have Kyrie, we didn't have Bennett, we didn't
Kyrie,
have Baker.
that's Kyrie
You
kind
say
of
he's
tough.
better than Myles Garrett?
Myles Garrett tough.
Well,
We
I
didn't
mean,
have-
look.
Got a lot of #1 picks since
I've got high hopes for the kid.
LeBron,
Kyrie,
Bennett, Andrew
Miles-
Wiggins counts.
Yeah.
Miles.
Well, he's already better than Andrew Wiggins, so.
I'm just saying Miles and
Hey,
Baker.
Mike set up. He was like, wait a minute now.
You can't say he's better than Miles. Like, well, you expect
We're
him to
not
be better
right
than
now.
Miles,
We're
but
saying
you expect him to
will
be better
be.
than
Now,
Miles is the
be.
second best player in the NFL. You think he could be the second best player in baseball?
and so here's the thing too.
You got Paul Skeens. He's 1. So best player in baseball.
We'll see.
And Kyrie,
We'll find out.
and Kyrie and Myles Garrett are Hall of Famers. So that
Yes.
means Bazzana has to be a Hall of Famer.
Listen, when you're selected #1 overall, there is a suit you wear for the rest of your career.
And at least you consistent. I give you consistency. Because like you say, Watson got to get to a certain level. I need him to be in this. We got to at least be in the AC championship game, and he got to win the championship. At least you got high standards for everybody. You didn't lower them.
You know what I judge it on is paycheck. Like, where are you in the money game?
Yeah, he is getting $10 million.
Bro, that contract is massive.
And I don't understand how they got him to take that pay cut. I don't understand how the reverse. I know y'all
Because
tried
you know why?
to
Because
explain it to me.
He felt like this was the best place for him.
He's like, I didn't want to go nowhere else.
What's the difference between $10.9 million and $12.1 million, or whatever the difference was?
He took it so he could get in the best position to get
to the major leagues.
In the major leagues quickly.
The quickest.
Get another contract and then make a lot of money.
Here's what he likes. We know he's an analytic freak. He loves the way the Guardians use analytics. Because you can say now that, well, all 30 teams are analytically driven. They are. I think the way the Guardians use it is, in my view, in the top 5 or 6. They're not overly analytical, but they use it the proper way.
Could he say, can he put in his contract, I'm going to take less, but I got to be in the majors in a year?
No, that wouldn't be to his benefit. If he's not ready, you can't bring him up because then he flames out and there's nowhere for him to go.
Yeah.
You know, you bring the kid up when he's proven he's ready. And honestly, September is wildly aggressive. Wildly aggressive. But based on what we saw from him in college, I love his barrel rate. His barrel rate wasn't a point or two higher than the number 2 guy in college. It was light years.
I don't know how I feel about barrel
Hey, we got
rate.
super chats real quick. I gotta end this. We can get some super
It's
chats
a big
in.
stat.
Yeah, it's a great stat. He has a chance to be incredible. I'm just saying
He does.
that's high bar, and hopefully he hits that. We all hope he does. Michael Rivovich says, you guys sound like you're giving the Guardians front office capital punishment before the verdict is win. Wait till after Tuesday, then destroy them if need be.
No, we've said if they don't make any moves.
We just waiting to see him.
We don't know. So far, we can only talk about what we've seen. Nothing.
We're not Cleveland County judges. We don't have the authority to hand out capital punishment. But yeah.
Well said.
So,
Well said.
See you in overtime.
What are we
Peace.
doing in overtime? Olympics?